Okay, so next question. Round the following to 3 significant figures. So kamu kena bundarkan nombor ini jadi 3 significant figures sahaja. So before kamu bundarkan, kamu kena tentukan dulu which figures, which numbers are significant. So you start from the left. Okay, satu ni significant ke tidak? So macam rule kita tengok tadi, all non-zero digits are significant. So satu ni adalah significant. Kemudian kita tengok kosong. Kosong ni significant ke tidak? So kalau kamu nak tengok kosong ni significant ke tidak, kamu tengok dekat apa nama? Captive zeros are significant. Ataupun kamu tengok dekat sini, trailing zeros are only significant if there is a decimal point. So based on these two rules, kosong ni diapit oleh 1 dan juga 7 dan juga dia ada titik perpuluhan. So kosong ni adalah significant. Kemudian 7, back on the first rule tadi, all non-zero digits are significant. So 7 ni pun significant. So kita dah ada our first 3 significant figures. So kalau kita nak bundarkan nombor ni, kita nak bundarkan kepada 3 significant figures, kita bundarkan dekat number digit 7 ni. So kalau nak bundarkan digit 7 ni, kita tengok on the right of itself ada 8. So kalau bundarkan 7 ni ada 8, kita tambah 1. So jadilah 1.08. So this 1, 0 dan 8 ni kesemuanya adalah significant figures. Itu maksud round the following to 3 significant figures. Okay, clear? Question number 9, round the following to 2 significant figures. So these numbers here ada 6 ada 6 figure, but we want only 2 significant figures. So 8 is significant, 1 is significant. So bundarkan 1 ni. So sebelah ada 9, jadilah 8.2. Next question, number 10. Calculate the area of a room if the length and width is 4.25 times, 4.25 and 5.7. So kalau kamu nak kira luas, kamu kena darabkanlah dia punya sisi dengan panjang. So 4.25 darab dengan 5.7. So the answer is, oh saya tak bagi my bad. Okay, my bad, saya lupa. Kat sini the purpose of this adalah untuk kamu, how do you apply significant figures. So up until question number 9, kita dah belajar, kita dah tahu macam mana nak tentukan which figure is significant. So starting on question number 10 ni, saya nak kamu apply the knowledge in measurement, in calculation. So dalam soalan ni saya suruh kamu calculate, kira keluasan sesuatu luas. Okay, I want you to calculate an area. Saya bagilah dia punya panjang dan dia punya lebar, 4.25 dan juga 5.7. So in calculation, in measurement, bila kamu nak report kamu punya final answer, kamu kena bagi, this is the rule. Rule significant figures in calculations. Ada tak yang simple je? Sekejap, sorry. Okay, this is, boleh lah. Okay, let me, hopefully dia tak besar pun. Okay, I hope you can see this. So ada 2 rules kalau kamu calculate and kamu nak determine dia punya, nak report dia punya final figures. So kalau kamu buat addition ataupun subtraction, and the second type is adalah multiplication dan juga division. So kalau kamu tambah dan juga tolak, so contoh dia bagi kat sini, kamu kena round the answer to the least number of decimal places. Kamu kena bundarkan bagi jadi titik perpuluhan dia yang paling sikit. So for example kat sini dia ada 1.457 tambah dengan 83.2. So bila kamu tambah, kamu akan dapat ni 84.657. So kamu to report this final answer, kamu kena bundarkan dia bagi titik perpuluhan yang paling sikit dalam kamu punya from the data that you have. So these are the two data that you have, 1.457 dan juga 83.2. Yang satu ni ada 3 titik perpuluhan. Yang bawah ni ada 1 titik perpuluhan. So kalau kamu nak report the final answer, kamu kena report dalam the least number of decimal places. So kamu kena bundarkan jadi titik perpuluhan yang paling sikit dalam data kamu. So kamu tengok balik the data that you have. The data that you have and the smallest, the least number of decimal places, titik perpuluhan yang adalah 1. So kamu kena report kepada 1 titik perpuluhan. Okay, the purpose of significant figures, significant digits, kamu nak report truthfully. Okay, that's the purpose of significant figures. So kalau dalam addition ataupun subtraction, dalam penambahan dan penolakan, kamu kena bundarkan jawapan terakhir kamu tu, your final answer, to the least number of decimal places. So dalam the second example kat sini, sebelah dia, the data, the two data that you have, yang kat atas ni 0.0367 ada 4 titik perpuluhan. Dia tolak 0.004322 ada 6 titik perpuluhan. So bila dah tolak tu, bundarkan kepada 4 titik perpuluhan. Okay, itu kalau tambah dan tolak. Tapi kalau darab dan bahagi, kamu kena bundarkan the answer to the least number of significant figure. So I see lah, that's why saya silap tadi dalam soalan yang saya bagi tadi. So dalam soalan contoh yang dia bagi ni 4.36 darab dengan 0.0013. So the least number of significant digit, significant figure kat sini adalah 2, 1 dan 3. Kat atas ni ada 3. So kalau kamu nak bundarkan your final answer, bundarkan kepada 2 significant figure. So kalau dia darab 4.36 darab dengan 0.0013, kamu akan dapat this number. Ada 4 significant figures, 5, 6, 6, 8. Tapi kalau the final answer, you need to round this to 2 significant figures only, because the data that you have, the least number of significant figures adalah 2. Kita tak mau report the digits, the figures that we don't have, that we are not sure of. We want to report truthfully. So your final answer tu kena bundarkan kepada 2 significant figures, 2 nombor bererti. So 5 dan 6, 6 ni is the second significant figure, bundarkan dia jadilah 0.0057. Okay, the same goes for bahagi also. So that's why dalam soalan ni, kat sini saya silap lah. Okay, so ada 2 data, 4.25 dan juga 5.7. So the least significant figures adalah 2. So your final answer should be in 2 significant figures. So kalau kamu darab 4.25 dan juga 5.7, kamu akan dapat this value here, 24.225. Kamu kena bundarkan dia kepada 2 significant figures. So 24, 2 is significant, 4 also significant. So 4 ni kamu kena start bundarkan dekat sini lah. So dekat sebelah dia adalah 2, so kosong lah dekat sini. So your final answer should be 24. Tak ada point kosong. Okay, 24 is the 2 significant figures. Okay, so saya bagi kat sini the correct answer is 24.2. So sini saya pun tersilap lah. Okay, jawapannya adalah 24 meter. That's how you bundarkan your final answer. So from now on, this is what you practice lah. Bila kamu calculate, kalau kamu tambah ke, kamu tolak, make sure kamu bundarkan dia to the correct significant figures, titik perpuluhan. Kalau kamu darab dan bahagi, make sure kamu bundarkan to the correct significant figures from the data that you have. So let's take a look at another question. Okay, chemistry calculation. 1 mole of aluminium contains this much atoms. Calculate the atoms if we have 2.5 moles of aluminium. So a refresher. Saya ada share hari tu this table. Mole conversion. You can Google yourself this chart. Mole conversion chart. It shows the relationship antara mass, moles dan juga particles, iaitu atoms dan juga molecules. You can just Google mole conversion chart. Open image. Okay, so kalau kamu ada mass, kamu nak cari bilangan mole, kamu bahagikan dengan molar mass. Kalau kamu ada moles, kamu nak cari mass, tengok ikut arrow ni. Kamu darabkan moles tu dengan molar mass. So just follow the arrow, and what do you have to do? Based on the motion, the direction it's going to. So kalau dalam soalan ni, mana dia? Dalam soalan ni, saya suruh kamu calculate the mass, calculate the atoms of aluminium if we have 2.5 moles of aluminium. Okay, bagi satu kenyataan kat sini. 1 mole ada 6.02 darab 10 kuasa 23 atom. So kalau kita ada 2.5 mole, how many atoms do we have? So kalau nak cari bilangan partikel, atoms ke, molecules ke, any formula units, from number of moles, kamu nak cari partikel, tengok arrow ni. Kamu kena darabkan dengan 6.02 darab 10 kuasa 23. So kalau aluminium tadi kita ada 2.5 mol, so 2.5 darab dengan 6.02 darab 10 kuasa 23. So mendapat jawapan salah. The correct answer adalah 1.51 darab 10 kuasa 24. So you have to use the calculator lah. Ambil 2.5 darab dengan 6.02 darab 10 kuasa 23. Tapi kat sini kamu kena bundarkan kepada saya bagi kat sini syarat kat sini, calculate the total mass pula, the number of atoms to 3 significant figures. Okay, so this is important because bila kamu calculate 2.5 multiply with 6.02 then the power of, where's that thing? Power of 23. This is the digit that you will get. 1.505 darab 10 kuasa 24. So ada 4 digit kat sini. And saya punya syarat, saya bagi kat sini, bundarkan kepada 3 significant figures. So kamu kena bundarkan dia 1.505. So 1 ni signifikan, 5 signifikan, 0 pun signifikan. So kita kena mula bundarkan dekat kosong ni. Dan dekat sebelah kosong ni ada 5, so jadilah kosong ni jadilah 1. So that's why the answer is 1.51 darab 10 kuasa 24 atoms. So there are 2 things here yang kamu kena tahu kalau kamu nak jawab soalan ni. The first thing that you have to know adalah macam mana nak calculate the number of atoms. So that's why saya share this chart tadi. So if you have the number of moles, kamu nak cari bilangan atom, you take the number of moles that you have, darabkan dengan the Avogadro number, iaitu 6.02 darab 10 kuasa 23. Okay, so once you have that value, kamu kena bundarkan dia, mana dia? Kamu kena bundarkan dia kepada kamu kena bundarkan dia kepada 3 significant figures. Saya nak 3 significant figures. So that's why kamu kena tahu pula macam mana nak bundarkan kepada 3 significant figures. So there are 2 things here that you have to know in order for you to get the correct answer here. Okay. Next question, choose the correct reason why the tearing of paper into pieces is a physical change. Jawapannya adalah the tearing of paper is a physical change because when the paper is torn, only the shape and size of the paper is changed. No new substance is formed. Okay, only the physical property, sifat fizikal kertas itu sahaja yang berubah. Bila kita koyak dia jadi 2 helai kertas, we still have kertas, but in small pieces, in double the amount. Okay, no new substance, tidak ada bahan baru yang dihasilkan. Question 13, how many significant figures are there in this value? Jawapannya adalah 3. Remember, all leading zeros are not significant. Kosong, kosong, kosong kat depan tu semuanya tidak significant. So only 4 dan 7 significant. Kosong yang diapit adalah significant. So that's why we have 3 significant figures. Question 14, choose an example a new substance is being formed. Jawapannya adalah paku yang berkarat. Okay, bahan sesuatu yang baru dihasilkan. A student ask kenapa paku yang berkarat tu kira sesuatu yang baru. So, paku yang berkarat adalah benda yang baru sebab dia tidak lagi mempunyai sifat-sifat fizikal dan juga sifat kimia yang sama. Okay, bahan yang berkarat pada asalnya dia macam it's very sturdy, keras, shiny, berkilat. Tapi bila dia dah berkarat, dia punya permukaan dah jadi kasar. It's not soft, it's not shiny anymore. It's grainy, kasar. Kalau kita macam kepak dia boleh patah. It's no longer sturdy. So it's not the same paku anymore. It's not a paku anymore. Pada asalnya dia adalah iron, paku tu adalah iron, Fe, tapi bila dia teroksida, dia jadi iron oxide. That's why dia punya physical property pun dah berubah. Dia dah jadi rapuh, tak berkilat. So that's why paku yang berkarat tu walaupun secara kasar kita tengok dengan mata kita, it still looks like a nail, but it's no longer, in essence, it's no longer the same substance. Dia dah tukar dah. Okay, berbeza dengan water changing to steam. Kalau kamu didihkan air, pada asalnya air tu adalah cecair, liquid. Tapi bila kita panaskan dia, dia mendidih, dia jadi vapor, jadi steam. But the steam is still H2O. Cuma dia punya rupa fizikal saja berubah. Dinding yang dicat also sama. Dia masih lagi dinding tapi cuma dilapiskan dengan lapisan cat. Sama juga dengan paper, kertas yang dilipat, masih lagi kertas, cuma dia punya permukaan rupa fizikal dia sahaja yang berubah. And our final question, the active ingredient of Panadol is paracetamol. The molecular formula is C8H9NO2. Identify the type of matter of paracetamol. So jawapannya adalah a compound. Element is the simplest substance. It is only made up of one atom. Contohnya macam hydrogen gas. Hydrogen gas is only made up of the hydrogen element. Oxygen gas is only made up of oxygen element, oxygen atoms. Apalagi emas, gold is only made up of aurum. Silver is only made up of silver atoms. Tapi kalau paracetamol, it's made up of carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen dan juga oxygen. Ada 4 atoms of different elements form a bond to make up this molecule of paracetamol. Okay? So remember, a compound adalah a mixture of different elements, different atoms of different elements. So that's it, tutorial number 1. So basically, if you have trouble nak kuasai chapter number 1, kamu boleh go through this question, this tutorial again. So tengok balik, bahagian mana yang kamu tak faham. Significant figures kalau kamu tak faham, macam contohnya, macam mana nak perform calculation of significant figures. So, kamu boleh study balik. If you struggle dekat bahagian significant figures, study balik bahagian significant figures. Kalau kamu tak boleh nak bezakan antara elemen dan juga molecules, tengok balik. Study balik bahagian macam mana nak classify, macam mana nak bezakan antara elemen dan juga molecule. Okay, you can use this tutorial as a guide untuk kamu buat revision, untuk ulang kaji. Okay, so before we proceed into tutorial number 2, let's take 5. Kita akan sambung balik in 5 minutes to discuss tutorial number 2. Okay, I'm back. So let's resume. Kita ada tutorial number 2 kita nak discuss, and then kita nak masuk chapter 3 sikit. Okay, dan habis class for today. Mana dah? Jazaria Joffrey waiting in the lobby. Okay, welcome pada yang baru masuk. Okay, so this is tutorial number 2. And in case you forgot, for chapter 2 is about the atomic structure, the atomic theory. So in class, saya dah cerita dah the development of the atomic theory, beginning from Democritus back in the ancient Greek, and then kita go through to the Victorian England. Kita tengok apa nama, John Dalton, J.J. Thomson, Niels Bohr, Rutherford, how they discovered the atomic particles, the history. And then kita go through lagi, tengok macam mana nak what is the inside of an atom looks like, how to write electronic configurations, what is mole. So dalam tutorial number 2 ni saya nak assess your understanding on those things lah. Okay, so tapi saya tengok tadi tak banyak soalan pun. Tak banyak macam tutorial 1 tadi, ada about 15. So in this one is less than 15. Question number 1. True or false? Gold is an element. Jawapannya adalah true. Okay, gold is made up of only gold atoms only. So if something is made up of only one atom of one element, one kind of atom, that's what I mean. Bukan sebiji atom. When I say one atom means sebiji, one kind of atom. Kalau macam contohnya, gold is not one atom, but it's made up of millions and millions of gold atoms. One kind of atom only. Okay, macam oxygen gas is made up of millions and millions of oxygen atoms. Just one kind of atom. So that is an element. Question number 2. So you have to fill in the blanks. This is the story of how Democritus developed basically the seed of an idea to the atomic structure. So the theory of an atom begins with a Greek philosopher called Democritus. He believes an atom is the most smallest indivisible part of any matter. So the English here is, this is not my finest. The smallest indivisible part of any matter. So Democritus percaya atom tu adalah sesuatu yang paling kecil yang tidak boleh lagi dibelah dah. Okay, he proved this theory by taking a seashell and began dividing it in halves until he is unable to do so any longer. So dia ambil satu kerang and then dia potong kerang tu jadi dua. And then they take one half of the kulit kerang, dia potong lagi half. And then they take that half, potong lagi dua. And he keep cutting it, dividing it in halves until dia tak boleh nak potong. He does not have the tool to further cut the seashell in half. So that is his idea of what an atom is. Smallest indivisible part of any matter. So this is the seed of an idea that how we come to discover the structure of the inside of an atom. So he coined this idea as atomos, smallest indivisible part of matter. Question number 3, the continuation from that to that story of Democritus study. In 1808, John Dalton, an English physicist, published a journal that further developed the atomic model. He postulated that all matter is made up of atom. Okay, their postulate is a theory that is not proven by experiment. So John Dalton ni dia ada idea, dia ada theory, tapi dia tak ada the means to prove that theory. So this is what we call postulates. Okay, idea, theory yang tidak dibuktikan melalui eksperimen but widely accepted by the community. So other physicists, other scientists terima idea dia sebab idea dia is in line, selari dengan fahaman all of the other scientists at the current time. Okay, itu maksud postulate. So he postulated that all matter is made up of atom and they are indivisible, tidak boleh dibelah. He also stated that all atoms of the same element are identical in mass and properties. So kat sini dia kata atoms of the same element adalah sama dari segi dia punya jisim dan juga dia punya sifat-sifat. Contohnya atom, kalau macam saya ada satu balang gas oksigen. So based on postulate John Dalton ni, kesemua katakanlah dalam satu balang tu ada 2 juta oksigen atom. So kesemua 2 juta biji oksigen atom tu mempunyai berat, mempunyai jisim yang sama. And dia punya sifat-sifat fizikal dan juga sifat kimia dia juga adalah sama. Okay, itu maksud dia. He stated all atoms of the same element are identical in mass and properties. Okay, atoms of the same element has same mass and properties. Another one was multiple atoms can combine to form compounds. Contohnya macam multiple atoms to form compounds, 2 atom oksigen bergabung jadilah oksigen molecule, oksigen compound. 2 oksigen atoms bergabung dengan satu oksigen satu atom hidrogen jadilah H2O, jadilah air. Okay, so itu maksud dia multiple atoms can combine to form compounds. Okay, question number 4. You mix and match. Identify electrons and nucleus in this diagram of Rutherford atomic model. Ernest Rutherford was a Kiwi physicist, scientist, and he came up with this model lah after dia proved the existence of nucleus. So saya nak kamu match what are these things yang kita nampak from this diagram. Ada 4 benda, but basically in essence ada 2 benda sajalah. Okay, tapi from this diagram ada 3 biji black circles circling the nucleus. So what are those? Jawapannya adalah elektron. And kat tengah-tengah tu adalah nucleus. Okay, so electrons move freely around the nucleus. Question number 5, fill in the blanks juga. An atom is mostly empty space with a dense center known as the nucleus. The nucleus pula is made up of 2 benda, iaitu proton dan juga neutron. And moving freely surrounding the nucleus adalah a negatively charged particle called electron. So these are the 3 atomic particle yang kamu perlu tahu. Proton, neutron dan juga electron. And remember, electron charge dia adalah negative, proton charge dia positive, neutron charge dia neutral, tidak ada charge. Question number 6, saya nak kamu boleh kenal pasti, kamu boleh baca this symbol. Identify the atomic number and the mass number from this element. So this is neodymium. Dekat bawah, number kat bawah ni adalah dia punya mass number, dia punya berat dia. Kat atas ni adalah dia punya atomic number. Question number 7, we have the element sodium punya symbol. Choose the correct number of proton for the element sodium. So from question number 6 tadi, kat atas ni adalah dia punya atomic number. So atomic number means it shows the number of proton that element has. So basically sodium kat sini kita tahu dia ada 11 proton. Question number 8, aluminium. If an aluminium loses 1 electron, identify the total number of electron it has now. So dekat sini from this nuclear symbol kita tahu the atomic number is 13. We also know the atomic number is equals to the number of protons that element has. So that means aluminium has 13 proton. And we also know the amount of electrons is always equal to the number of amount of proton. So kalau aluminium ada 13 proton, that means dia ada 13 electron. So my question is, if aluminium loses 1 electron, the number of electron it has now adalah 12. Dia ada 13 biji elektron. So if it loses 1, jadilah 12. Okay. Mana dia? Oh, that's it. Okay, that's it for apa nama tutorial number 2. So this is basically just half of the chapter. In the second half of chapter number 2, kita go through apa nama macam mana nak buat mole conversion, mole calculation, what is the mole, stoichiometry lagi, how to balance chemical equation. Okay, so ada banyak lagi dalam chapter 2. This is the first half of chapter 2. So basically dalam this tutorial saya nak kamu boleh baca this nucleate symbols, this chemical symbols ni, sebab dalam as a student of chemistry, kita akan, kamu perlu mahir macam mahir nak baca jadual berkala unsur, the periodic table of elements, because all the data of different elements of all the elements yang kita dah identify so far, kamu boleh dapat from the periodic table. So if you are unable to read that, you cannot access the most fundamental data in chemistry. So this is a very important skill, very fundamental, very basic, but important. So that's why saya nak kamu build a strong foundation lah. Kamu faham macam mana nak kenal pasti this element has how much electron, proton. Kalau dia form an ion, it loses 1 electron. How much it has now? What is the charge? Okay, so those are the things yang saya nak kamu dapat from this tutorial number 2 ni. Okay, nanti akan ada another assessment, ada assignment. Kita akan go through lagi lah the calculations of moles and so on. Okay, ada question tentang ni? Tutorial number 2? Okay, so kalau tak ada, saya nak move on. Nak introduce chapter 3. So untuk chapter 3, the lecture note is available dalam iTel. Saya dah upload before raya. Kamu boleh download kat sini. Oh, sorry. Mana dia? What's the lecture note? Okay, so in chapter 3 kita akan discuss chemical bonds. Let me present this properly first. Okay, so in this chapter, kenapa tak berap? Okay, so at the end of this chapter, these are the things that you should be able to do. Oh, my bad. Describe octet rules, draw Lewis structures, define molecular geometry, compare between bond polarity and molecular polarity, and juga lastly explain hybridization, attractions and between molecules. So dalam basically these are the many things that you don't know yet. Okay, octet rule kamu tak tahu lagi apa benda. What is Lewis structure, you don't know. So molecular geometry is very, very new. What is bond polarity, what those words even mean, I bet you don't know. Okay, so what basically this chapter entails adalah the chapter ni nak explain how does a molecule exist. Contohnya macam H2O. Kita tahu dia ada satu hydrogen atom dan juga 2 atom oxygen. But why do they form a bond? Kenapa dia terikat antara satu sama lain? So we explain that dalam this chapter. Dan juga dia punya structure, dia punya rupa molekul tu, kenapa dia bukan, I need to draw how to go out. My bad. Is it close? Okay. So for example, this is the structure of why are you being weird? Okay, so H2O molecule, this is what it looks like. Oxygen satu kat sini, and this is hydrogen, and this is another hydrogen. Kat sini kita ada 2 lone pairs. This is the Lewis structure of water. This is how we draw. This is, in reality, this is the rupa dia. Kenapa dia bukan macam ni? Why is it not? Keyboard ni tergantung pula. Kenapa dia bukan macam, dia tak straight? Kenapa dia tak linear? Why is it not like this? So we are able to determine structure dia macam ni from the instruments that we have. Itu kita panggil sebagai NMR. I forgot what it stands for. Nuclear magnetic through radiation mass spec. Okay, so we are able to identify the shape of the water of any molecules by using this instrument. So we identify that this is what it looks like. So kenapa rupa dia bukan linear macam ni, melintang? Kenapa bukan menegak? Why is it not in any other shape? So we can explain that by understanding, kenapa dia tak buka this PowerPoint? By understanding all these things, octet rules, molecular geometry, bond and molecular polarity, dan juga the hybridization between molecules. Itu yang kita nak belajar dalam chapter ni. So kita akan go through step by step lah. Kita akan tengok dulu what is octet rule. Apakah itu, bila kita dah faham octet rule, kita akan move forward. Macam mana nak draw Lewis structure. Macam mana nak identify dia punya molecular geometry. Molecular geometry ni dia punya shape. Macam saya tunjuk water tadi, shape dia macam bend. Okay. Oh, this is the old one. I forgot to. Saya lupa nak padam. Apologies, sorry. My bad. Kita akan go through this after kita go through the octet rule and so on. Okay, chemical bond. Kita patut start dengan sini. Okay, so there are two types of chemical bonds yang kamu perlu tahu. The first one adalah ionic bond and the second is covalent bond. So how do you differentiate between kedua-dua ni adalah ionic bond is the sharing of electrons between two atoms. Covalent bond pula adalah ionic adalah the transfer of one electron into another electron. Covalent bond adalah ikatan yang terhasil from the sharing of electrons. So how do I explain that? I prefer to draw. Okay, how do you differentiate? Macam kamu nak bezakan antara ionic dan juga chemical bond? Kamu ada two types of bond. Ini yang saya nak kamu hold on to today. Saya tak nak kamu fikir panjang-panjang, fikir dalam-dalam because ada banyak benda baru. So at the end of this lecture, saya nak kamu boleh bezakan antara ionic bond dan juga covalent bond. Saya tulis ikatan kimia dan juga ikatan ionic. How do you differentiate? So macam saya cakap tadi, atoms can form a bond with another atom. So kalau macam contohnya saya ambil water tadi, so we have oxygen atom, dia akan form a bond with two hydrogen atoms. So kita gambarkan ikatan ni with lines dalam chemistry. So this is ikatan kimia. But macam saya establish kat atas tadi, we have two types of bonds. Kita ada ionic bond dan juga covalent bond. So how do we differentiate between ionic and covalent bond? So in chemistry, ionic bond is defined by the transfer of electrons, by the movement of electrons. Kalau covalent bond, kita define by the sharing of electrons. So ikatan kimia ni bergantung kepada the type of electron sesuatu atom tu ada. Okay, the nature of the atoms. So for example, tak semua atom boleh buat ionic bond, tak semua atom boleh form covalent bond. So I give you this water molecule here. So why does oxygen here not form a bond with hydrogen? Why does it want to form a bond with hydrogen? Katakanlah kita ada satu, just imagine, katakanlah kamu ada, this is a container of oxygen. You have oxygen gas and you have another container of hydrogen gas. And this container is connected to a bigger container. And kita boleh salurkan. You can move this oxygen into this big container. So bila kita masukkan and kita apply certain pressure, tekanan yang tertentu, dan juga certain temperature, the oxygen and hydrogen that goes into the same container akan hasilkan H2O molecules. H2O. Why do they form these H2O molecules? So to answer this question, kita kena tengok balik the structure of oxygen atoms. So the structure of oxygen atoms, dia punya orbital structure, dia ada nucleus at the center. Okay, kalau kamu tengok balik dia punya apa nama, the number of atoms it has. Kalau kamu buka the periodic table, mana dia? Okay, oxygen, the atomic number is 8. Okay, that means dia ada 8 proton and dia ada 8 elektron. So, untuk the first level, macam kita dah belajar, there are levels to electrons ni. Rumah elektron. So, dia ada 2 elektron in the first level, first orbital. And in the second orbital, they house another 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dan 6. So this is electron. Axis ni adalah elektron oxygen. And from thousands and thousands of experiments, kita dapati sesuatu atom tu dia akan jadi stabil bila dia punya orbital ni cukup 8 elektron. This is from observational experiments. Okay, this is what we call octet rule. Octet rule. Octet means 8. Okay, so that means kalaulah orbital kedua oksigen ni dipenuhi dengan 8 elektron, dia jadi stabil. And like many things, macam manusia, kita suka kestabilan. We like stability. Kalau hidup kita stabil, kita lebih aman. We are more content, lebih bahagia. Semua agree kan? Kalau hidup kita stres, okay, kena marah selalu, duit tak cukup, kita stres, mana fikir nak cari, nak makan and everything, nak feed your children. Kalau kamu, you life as a student also, duduk terperak kat rumah, you study, buat online class kat rumah je, tak jumpa kawan-kawan, you cannot go out during the pandemic. Stress, tak stabil, emosi tak stabil, mentally tak stabil. So the same rules basically, the same logic can be applied to atoms. Bila dia tak stabil, kalau dia punya orbital ni dipenuhi dengan elektron, all its needs is fulfilled, dia jadi lebih stabil. Okay, so in terms of electron, atom, stability meaning dia bila dia stabil, dia tidak akan mudah bertindak balas. That's what it means, stabil. So kalau atom tu stabil, dia tak mudah bertindak balas. The same macam manusia juga. Kalau kamu macam tak stabil, kamu macam emosi kamu tak stabil, somebody like did something to you, kamu macam akan bertindak balas dengan dia. Kalau macam kamu macam emosi kamu dah tak stabil dah hari tu, and then kamu dekat campus, kamu walk by somebody and dia langgar bahu kamu, so kamu akan lebih mudah untuk bertindak balas, kamu macam marah dia. Okay, you are easily more reactive towards a person if you are not stable. Tapi kalau imagine you yourself bangun pagi tu, kamu bahagia, assignment semua siap, duit ada lagi, kamu tak perlu fikir nak makan apa hari ni, apa lagi, dah boleh balik campus, dah boleh jumpa kawan-kawan, dah boleh melepak and everything. If somebody bump you on your shoulder when you walk by, and you will less likely to react on that person. Sebab kamu tak stress, you are emotionally and mentally stable. Okay, the keyword yang saya nak kamu dapat kat sini adalah reactivity. The same for atoms. If it is stable, dia tak akan mudah bertindak balas. Sorry. Masuk. Okay, So itu maksud of that rule. So kalau kamu ada complete 8 electrons in your orbital, dia akan less likely untuk bertindak balas. So kat sini, in this example yang saya bagi, kita ada 6 only. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dan 6. So we only have 6. So the goal of this oxygen atom adalah nak cukupkan 8. Okay, so kalau nak cukupkan 8, it needs 2 more electrons. So that's why kalau kita masukkan dia dalam a container yang ada hydrogen ni, dia akan bertindak balas. So macam saya cakap tadi, this oxygen is not fulfilled. Tak cukup 8 lagi dalam dia punya orbital ni. Ada 2 electrons that could still go here. So kalau dia dimasukkan dalam satu container with hydrogen. So kita tengok pula the nature of hydrogen ni. So hydrogen, kalau kamu tengok dalam periodic table, the atomic number is 1. That means it has 1 electron. So this is the nucleus of that hydrogen. And this is its only orbital. And dia ada 1 electron. So hydrogen ni pula is also not fulfilled. In the first orbital, maximum dia boleh ada elektron adalah 2. Tapi dia ada 1 saja. So this is also not fulfilled. Tak stabil. So dia akan bertindak balas juga. It will tend to react. So kalau kita masukkan this hydrogen in a container with another oxygen yang juga sangat reaktif, dia akan bertindak balas. Okay, under a certain amount of pressure dan juga temperature. So kalau dia close enough, dia boleh share this electron with each other. So imagine dia nak completekan dia punya shell, dia punya orbital. You imagine this orbital of oxygen yang ada 2 and yang ada 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dan 6. And bila dia dimasukkan dalam satu container yang sama, imagine this shell of hydrogen. Dia ada 1 kat sini. So now dia kongsi elektron. So right now this oxygen and this is hydrogen. This oxygen ada 1, 2. Let me change the color so that you can see. So dia ada 1. Kenapa tak tukar? Okay. So now dia ada 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dan 6. Kita tengok the outermost orbital yang paling luar. And dia ada 7. Orbital yang ke-7 tu dia kongsi with this hydrogen. So tak cukup 8 lagi. Okay, tak cukup 8 lagi. So dia ada, remember kita masukkan banyak hydrogen into the same container with this hydrogen tadi. So dia boleh form another ikatan. Dia boleh share lagi. Katakanlah ada another oxygen atom kat sini. Tutup balik. Black please. Okay. So imagine, brush balik please. Okay. Imagine there's another atom kat sini of hydrogen. Dia duduk kat sini. So ada another electron kat sini. Okay. So right now the amount of anytime now. Sila ambil. Okay, the amount of electron oxygen ni adalah tadi ada 7, ada 8 right now. So dia punya octet rule is complete. Dia dah ada 8 elektron hasil perkongsian dengan hydrogen. Hydrogen ni pula dia dah ada 2 elektron, 1 dan 2. So hydrogen ni ada 2 elektron, hydrogen ni pun ada 2, oksigen ada 8. So this is covalent bond. This is how elektron dikongsi dalam ikatan covalent. Sebab itulah dia tak hasilkan H3O+. Untuk hasilkan H3O+, it requires a different set of condition, maybe higher temperature and higher pressure. So if you have a container of oxygen and hydrogen, kamu akan dapat H2O. Because of the nature of this, dia punya orbital, dia octet rule. Dia nak complete, dia nak achieve stability. So bila dia dah stabil, oksigen ada 8 elektron, hydrogen dia punya ni ada 2 elektron. So that's why dia hasilkan ikatan covalent tadi sebab dia nak achieve stability. 8 elektron dan 2 elektron. So the key things that you have to understand from here is kamu mesti faham for certain atoms dia certain atoms macam hydrogen dia perlukan 2 elektron untuk stabil. Macam oksigen dia perlukan 8 elektron in its shell to be stabil. So kalau hydrogen and oxygen share electrons and dia achieve this amount of electron dalam dia punya orbital, dia stabil. So ikatan covalent terhasil from the sharing of electrons. Okay? Berbeza dengan ionic bond. Okay, I'll get into that in our next class later. Okay, so for your homework, saya nak kamu tengok dulu, go through this chemical bonds ni. Baca dulu sikit-sikit, nanti kita akan go through. Okay, read up on ionic dan juga covalent bond. After that baru saya akan explain further dalam our next class. Okay, clear semua? Ada any questions? Mana master? Okay, kalau tak ada apa-apa, that's it for today. Your homework is read up on ionic and covalent bond. Okay, ada lecture note, ada reference book also ada dekat dalam ITEL. Clear semua? So kalau tak ada apa-apa, thank you. See you next week.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Stay safe.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Nanti saya share the recorded class dalam ITEL.
Alright.
Okay.